The U.S. Defense Department said today that it was concerned that after 18 days of bombing, Afghanistan's Taliban leaders may be growing so desperate they may kill Afghan civilians just to blame the United States for their deaths. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin reports that it would be another cruel twist in a new kind of war where time is a weapon.
The carrier Vincent took on a fresh load of weapons for more strikes against Taliban troops in what is becoming a race between America's overwhelming military superiority and the Taliban's efforts to turn world opinion against the bombing campaign. According to the Pentagon, the Taliban is likely to try anything to win the propaganda war, including poisoning food destined for starving civilians.
We are confident in the information that we have that they may intend to poison one or more types of food sources and blame it on the Americans.
Also, according to the Pentagon, the Taliban is trying to increase the chances American bombs will kill civilians. This satellite photo shows a mosque in the middle of a radar site. The U.S. bombed the site anyway, including a helicopter which had been moved in right next to the mosque. The Taliban can't fight back, but it can hunker down.
I am a bit surprised at how doggedly they're hanging on to power.
U.S. officials say the Taliban is just trying to survive for another month when both the Afghan winter, which will make military operations physically more difficult, and the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, which will make them politically more difficult, begin.
As we approach this period of Ramadan and winter, we'll just have to make an assessment at that time as to where we are.
There's no question the U.S. holds all the military cards, but the test of wills is still undecided. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
The United Nations World Food Program said today it is buying snowplows to clear roads in Afghanistan this winter for convoys that will carry more than 50,000 tons of food each month for up to 6 million Afghans. CBS's Alan Pizzi reports tonight help is also needed for millions more huddled in refugee camps along the Afghan-Pakistan border.
The Pakistan government has finally opened its border for Afghan refugees, but just a tiny crack in response to international pressure. The UN has been allowed to set up a temporary refugee camp at the Shaman border crossing, a place where sudden dust storms choke everything. But only the most desperate are allowed to cross the border. I am sick and thirsty, this woman says, and I have no money left. She and others like her are allowed in because with barbed wire and plenty of police, the Pakistanis finally have control here. But everyone knows the refugee crisis is about to get worse.
They're coming from the north and from the east, and they say that there's more coming.
And the weather makes everything worse.
In about 3 weeks' time, the snows fall, and about 1 million people are cut off from any form of aid.
And there's a medical crisis too. UNICEF estimates 100,000 children will die if immunization cannot be extended across the border.
This camp is classed as a temporary safe haven, a place from which refugees will eventually move on. Standing in the middle of it, one question springs uppermost to mind. If this is a haven, what did these people leave behind?
Abdul Moamin said the terrifying thunder of American bombing drove him and his family to walk 5 days and then spend the last of their money on a 2-day car journey to get here. He blames the Taliban. In the last 2 years, they became unbearable, he says, and they caused the bombs to come. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Shaman border crossing.
Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, Eye on America, how and why the anthrax attack is turning out to be at least somewhat more lethal than it first appears.